What the hell? You cannot be serious. How did I wake up to this garbage as my president? That's right, garbage. And then all of a sudden, it's just been hijacked by these freaks of nature.
Who's the freak?
It's all hate, 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 hate. Trump hates everybody that's not white.
Where do you get that?
I was doing manifestations.
Doing manifestations.
It was in my dreams. I just don't understand. Is it too late?
Okay, so I was wrong. A lot of astrologers were wrong. A lot of us were wrong.
Astrologers
if you
were
think
wrong.
that right now is the time to tell me that you don't believe in astrology, who gives a fuck about astrology right now, dude?
Stupid fucking whore!
Whoa, language lady.
Shut the fuck up!
Whoa, young lady.
Asshole!
Young lady. Language.
She is not a convicted felon, rapist, crazy, fascist, dictator, psycho.
There we go. Woo! All right. Celebrations, everybody. What a week have we had this week. It's been something else. Holy cow, something else, something worth celebrating. I hope everybody out there has got themselves a wobbly pop going, because I've got one happening up in here and it's delicious. And boy, does it taste sweeter this week. Does it ever? Holy. Why don't we come back here? There we go. And why don't we bring the chat in? Come on in, ladies and gents. We had a poll going on at the beginning of this before we got going in the live stream. And the poll was, well, it says here, let's just end the poll. Let's get the results of this poll, put it up. How does it work? Okay, is the Trump presidency better or worse for Canada? You ladies and gents have said that, yes, it is going to be better, 95%, 4% saying it'll be worse. The poll completed 175. It's early stream. Not a lot of people in there. Not a lot of people getting that notification bell just quite yet. So we'll maybe add some more polls in here. Other things. Doing the live stuff's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. What's this goal thing? This is new to me. I don't know what do we got on here. I can make a goal. I can make a goal for what? Goal for super chats. Should I start a goal? Chat, let me know. Should I start a goal? Put it in the chat. You think I should make a goal for this one? Welcome, everybody. Yes. Hi from Ottawa. Hello, Ottawa. Put in the chat. Where are you from? Where are you watching the show from? Love to hear that. Clyde, do you think Trump will help Canada with illegal aliens not crossing our border? Well, that'll be an interesting one, actually. That will be an interesting one. Actually, I had something on that earlier. I saw an article written about that. I wanted to get into a bunch of other things, but hey, these things come up and then we get yapping about them because, well, it's important. It's important to talk about these things. I want to make sure I'm on the right tab before I get opening things, because this can all mess up very, very quickly. Let's get over and have a look at this. Share this tab instead and get up on that presentation. get that going right here. So this was from Table Salt. I've been following a lot from Table Salt lately. What a great Twitter handle. If you don't follow Table Salt already, get on over there and give Table Salt a follow. I don't know if it's a man or a woman behind that, but it's definitely one of the two. Let's just say that. Can I get an amen in the chat? Absolutely. But this was something that came up today. There are 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States of America who will be looking to extend their North American stay. CTV reporting that Canada has only 3 detention centers. We are not prepared for what is coming. So, and this is the well, I mean, how else do you put it here? Trump is not going to be keen on having these people stay in America. That's what he ran on. He's a populist and he's going to go with the ideas of the people. So we're going to be looking at, moving forward, probably a good chunk of people that are illegally in the United States, either being, discovered, found, given notice, told, gotta go, being sent to airports, sent to borders, what have you. But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to make a run for the Canadian border just before that all goes down for them. And we're completely unprepared for this. And I guess CTV was talking about this.
The possibility of a massive influx of undocumented migrants from the United States looms. The RCMP has been preparing for months.
We knew that should Mr. Trump be elected to be the next U.S. president, there could be an impact on irregular and illegal migration here in Canada. So we have different scenarios for whatever might happen.
The Mounties plan to increase patrols along the border with more officers and vehicles. Before its closure, Quebec's Roxham Road, the most porous point in the country, saw as many as 500 migrants a day cross over.
A day.
That number could be surpassed.
We must make sure that the legal and regular entry points are well covered, which should be the case because those people that want to come in Canada know that they should not go through that way.
Migrants will be arrested, then transferred to the...
They should not go through that way. Did he say that? Oh, they know that they should not go through that way. They've been told by politicians like our own prime minister not to go that way. And they've been encouraged to go to places like Roxham Road. Absolutely, which is devastating. It's devastating that this is actually a reality. And I just want to throw this out there. Like, as you look at Roxham Road here, they're showing footage of it. You notice it's a police officer. You know why they dispatch police officers to there? Because if there was a customs and border agent, they would have the authority to say, no, you can't enter. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. They would say, no, you cannot enter the country. You have to turn around and go back where you came. However, you don't have to go back. What's the line? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's right. And that would be the right way to go about this. Wait, Clyde, you telling me criminals don't follow laws? Whoa. What a eureka moment, right? Oh, that's hilarious. Saving the Mexicans. Oh, man. Well, Mexico doesn't want them. That's for sure. We are so, yeah. MCGA. Yeah, let's make Canada great again. Why are some videos that you upload in 1080p and others in 720p? The ones that are in 720p are because I'm uploading them from StreamYard. So I'll use StreamYard when I have guests on. So like right now, this is streaming at 720p. StreamYard just streams at 720p. Unless you buy the Pro and then you have to spend like hundreds of dollars a month just to get 1080p. So in my normal videos, I record with a piece of software called OBS, and I record in 1080. This records in 720. So that's the reason behind that. So I didn't realize that people even noticed that kind of thing. Most people watch on their phones, and that's about it. And the quality, I think the quality from this is not that bad. It's not bad at all. If I was making hundreds of dollars for these streams, then I might be able to justify it. But you know, just throwing that out. I do these streams for fun, really, at the end of the day. These streams, you know, it's my Friday night. I like to relax, crack open a wobbly pop and talk to the community, talk to everybody that's out here. And then occasionally I get a guest on and it'll be a lot of fun. Tonight's guest, you're gonna all have a great time. He's if you hang around on Instagram or TikTok, you've probably seen him before. You have probably seen a lot of the work that he's done. And in fact, I wanted to get to one of his videos here. We could get into this a bit more later, but this was one that he shared out recently that I just thought was hilarious. And he does such great work. He's all over the place. He's all over the algorithm on Instagram and TikTok. Make sure you're following, but of course, follow Marc Nixon. He's going to be on the show a little bit later. You guys are going to really enjoy that. Let's get into a video that he put together because this one's great.
Here's a list of all the celebrities that said that they were going to be flying away if Donald Trump won the election.
Look how many of them they're gonna move it away. I'm moving out of America. Oh, look at us all. Look at us all.
And who saw Jimmy Kimmel's tears and his speech last night?
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who
for celebrities that have their name on the Epstein fly list.
Make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice,
for Hollywood pervs. Really, at the end of the day.
Free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
Not to worry, Jimmy. Trump's got some tissues for you. And for Canadians, in under 12 months, is this what we're going to see? Planes exit Canada and tissue boxes getting thrown around everywhere. Love to hear from you in the comment section. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. I got to give a huge shout out to Marc Nixon. He's going to be on the show in a bit, but holy cow, what he's got the energy. I just love the energy. I love the way he does his presentations. It's so fantastic. And it's just entertaining to watch. It's just entertaining to watch. And it's something that, you know, it's a little bit more fun than just the old doom scroll. You check out his videos that bring a little bit of life to your day. It's always fantastic. And he talks about great stuff. So yeah, looking forward to having him on. But let's get into some of this, this other stuff. Because yeah, I wanted to get into this and talk about the meltdowns, because that's what we've been seeing a lot of. Not only people on social media and not only Hollywood actors, but the news media themselves have been melting down like absolute crazy and saying just the most. I mean, what do you say about this? Those media shills just say the darndest things. Listen to this.
There's something far more long-lasting than just Donald Trump, the candidate. There is a sort of Russian embrace of disinformation, a radical devaluing of truth over the last 9 to 10 years, and a complete ignorance on civics and what the term matters.
Ignorance on civics. Listen to this guy. He's completely ignorant on anything that he reports on. Mr. Roscoe Pico, member for 24 months. My Friday night for the last 24 months. Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Hanging out with me on YouTube. What better time? Like I love doing these Fridays. And like I said, I'm doing this because I have fun with this. It's so much fun. And then being able to talk more about these subjects in a little bit more longer form. Sometimes they get a little bit rushed. You never know how the Friday night live is gonna go by. Trish Prue with a $2.79 super chat. RCMP are ready. They buffed up to carry luggage. What? They're going to be helping him out. They're going to be helping him out across the Roxham Road border. You know, that little dirty spot that no country knows what to do with. I'm surprised the Canadian side hasn't built a bridge over that little rut there. But yeah, the RCMP do carry luggage over for people who legally shouldn't even be coming into the country. This is what's crazy about that Roxham Road thing. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Smithsonian democracy even means, what checks and balances even means, what judicial review even means, what the rule of law even means. How do we as a nation, even post-Trump, how do we reach those Americans who apparently didn't go to civics class?
Oh, we missed the first bit where you really...
We still have an electorate, 70 million plus, that will be voting for a man who said he was going to assassinate for treason the chairman of the Joint Chiefs because he didn't support him on January the 6th. Who
he never said that he was going to do that.
He was going to execute Liz Cheney with a firing squad, 9 guns pointed and shooting at her face. A man who
Never
said
said that
he was going to shut down CBS because he didn't like how they edited an interview. A man who said he was going to be a dictator from day one. A man who said he was going to terminate the Constitution. A man who said he was going to use the army and he was going to use the National Guard on his political opponents. I literally could go on all day. And yet you talk to Trump voters and they'll go, he didn't say that. Wait, now I didn't hear him. And then you say, well, here's the quote. And then they'll go, yeah, he didn't mean that. So there's something far more long lasting than just Donald Trump, the candidate. There is a sort of Russian embrace of disinformation, a radical.
So what disinformation are you getting here? I mean, look at the reality of the situation. He's talking about, just go look at his quotes. You could see the quotes for yourself. Well, the quotes are always taken out of context, and this is a prime example of it. This is the the great, what was it, the fine people on both sides hoax that was intentional. It was absolutely, intentional. Wow, those wobbly pops are really hitting the spot tonight. That's right. But this is what they do. They'll take a quote and then they'll put it completely out of context. We saw as recently as during the election there, when just like a week ago, when he said, we're going to do it. We're going to, the women, whether they like it or not, or something along those lines. And he's like, we're going to save the women. We're going to save women from, migrants and stuff was the context. We're going to do it whether they like it or not. And they spun it into this other thing. And it's not like it's not even gaffes. They're just like taking it fully out of context. But this is another perfect one. And this is Snopes finally coming out with a fact check on this one. It only took them, 6 years, something like that. But they finally did it. No, Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. No, he didn't. That's not something that happened. However, the accuracy of what Trump did claim, that they were very fine people on both sides of the 2017 Unite the Right debacle, is in question. So it was the Unite the Right, and he was talking about how there was protesters. They were trying to take down statues of history. And he said, there was very fine people on both sides of this. People were protesting against the statue removal. People were protesting for the statue removal. And then all of a sudden, crazy lefties and crazy, neo-Nazis, which I think are lefties, in my opinion anyway, came and they made it sound like he was talking about them. This is utter trash. It's unbelievable. But what good came out of this whole thing? And let's get back to the chat, because I got some more stuff, but I want to spend some time with the chat here tonight for sure. Let's get back to this. I almost lost my train of thought there. I'm gonna come. I love that clip. I wish I had it. I wish I had it right now. Yeah, Brenda Weave, awesome with the cheers. Trish Prue, member for 24 months. Let's get this up here. My Friday date night with Clyde and Clydesters. Best way to spend my time. Hard to believe I have been a member for 2 years. So glad I found you on YouTube, getting to chat with some awesome people. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Being a member for 2 years. It's hard to believe I've been doing this for more than 2 years. It really is. It's just flown right by. Clyde, do a little dance for us. I don't have a dance. We'll have to get some music going maybe a little bit later. Then we can have that happen. That would be awesome. Canada is full. Yeah. Well, you know what? Canada's no. There's room for other people in Canada, just not mass migrants of people with no skills. Sorry, if you don't have any skills, you can't survive in Canada without robbing people, things like that. No, we don't have room for you. Do a little treadmill, Clyde. I'm standing on the treadmill, but I don't have it going right now. That's fine. I'm just gonna keep standing here. Are we going to see beardless Clyde anytime? Probably never. Probably not. My dad was the same way. He's always had a beard my entire life before I was around, and still to this day he's got a beard. That's a thing. That's a thing. I've never seen my dad without a beard. Isn't that interesting? But yeah, as soon as I could grow one, I was like, "Yep, I'm having that." Because I got one of those baby faces that nobody, without the glasses and the beard. I mean, if anyone takes me seriously now, nobody does without those two things. Just saying, right on, Clyde. Canada needs President Trump. Canada needs a President Trump or a Javier Milei. Now, who's coming into power next? Well, it's going to be Pierre Poilievre. And is he going to be what we all want in a prime minister? I hope so. I absolutely hope so. Is that what's going to be the case? I don't know. It doesn't seem as clear cut as like a Trump, having Trump come in. Pierre's a career politician. He has that. He has that going for him, but he does have a lot of other things going for him rightfully. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Oh, I pointed it out in my video. I'm seeing if I have the clip still. Yeah, I have it. So here's the thing. There's a lot of people on the right and the left that are going after Pierre Poilievre, and I don't agree with either side. The right that disagree with Pierre and the left that disagree with Pierre, because there's a lot of people that come out and say he didn't stand up for the truckers. He didn't stand up for the truckers. He wasn't against the mandates. He just went along with all of that stuff. Did he? Is that the truth of the matter? Because even the Liberal Party today, or maybe this was yesterday, put this out there, and this is supposed to be an attack ad against Pierre Poilievre. Look, Liberal Party saying this about Pierre Poilievre.
Divisive and unscientific vaccine mandates. The unscientific vaccine mandate. An unscientific mandate of vaccine vendetta. We will fight tooth and nail to put a permanent end to vaccine mandates and other oppressive actions by the government that take away people's medical freedoms.
Health officials in Quebec are sounding the alarm over community spread of measles.
Look at what they're doing here. Oh, check it. I love these little bait and switch things. They do a little bait and switch. Like, okay, here's what he was saying. That sounds great. And then let's throw something else in here. And it's totally not what we were talking about. Now, I want to remind people that when the trucker convoy happened, the trucker convoy was never anti-vax. It was never an anti-vax movement. That wasn't the deal. That wasn't it at all. Penny D with a $2 super chat saying, I think Trump and Poilievre will really hit it off. I agree with this. I'm just kind of getting there in a roundabout way. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. But this is the thing. They're trying to paint it as something that it wasn't. Again, it was never anti-vax. The truckers in Canada were vaccinated at a rate of what? I think it was like in excess of like 85 or 90%. Most of the people that were in the convoy were vaccinated. A lot of them anyway. And the real thing that broke the straw that broke the camel's back was actually a Rive can. When truckers were the ones who were doing everything. They were the ones who were helping everyone out in Canada. They were the heroes. They were the ones that were risking getting infected and all this other stuff when we didn't know that it was just a common cold and all that, right? When we actually thought it was a thing. And they stepped up and they did all these different things, and had to pee outside and long hours in their trucks and not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. And then at the end of the day, it was they came in with this arrive can and they said, yeah, you can't even cross the border without us being able to have access to your phone and all of these things. And they went, no, enough's enough. We did our part, and now you're asking too much. And you know what? This mandate's got to go. All of these measures have to go. It's over. Now is the time for it to be over. And then they turned it into this, well, they're all anti-vax, and if we didn't get vaccines, we would have had the measles. And now they're saying like the measles is making a comeback. How is the measles making a comeback in a country that has like an 80% vaccination rate? And we're not even talking about measles shots. We're talking about COVID-19. This is why it's so mind-melting to listen to this rhetoric. But this is the bait and switch that they do.
And non-outbreak cases of the whooping cough in Alberta are linked to people that are either not immunized or only partially immunized.
Ontario's top doctor is warning about potential outbreaks of measles.
The worldwide resurgence in measles has...
Oh, just so gross. It's just so gross to watch. Jilly Beans with a $5 super chat. What was Pierre saying before the trucker convoy, though? He started speaking against the mandates when the convoy happened. From what I understand, he was speaking out against government overreach. He was on about that. Now, he was talking about granting access to vaccines, like that was part of his speeches, and how apparently the Liberals were not giving enough access to people, blah blah blah, in the lead up for people to have that stuff. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of laughter happening on the other side of that door right now. My kids are having a lot of fun, by the way. Yeah, so that's very... I'm getting distracted here. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, that was what they were fighting over at the time in the House of Parliament. And yes, when the truckers came, that was a big shift in politics in Canada. And if Pierre is just following what people are doing, well, then he's following the populists. And that's not ideal, obviously, but it's a lot better than what we've had before any of that. In fact, well, Aaron O'Toole was ousted because of his lack of support with the trucker convoy and what went down there. Nux for Cop 20 member for 25 months. Awesome. Apples and oranges. We don't have a measles vaccine mandate. He was speaking against forcing the vaccine on people. That's right. It wasn't about the vax mandate. It was about, it wasn't about measles vaccinations. It wasn't about, your hepatitis vaccinations. But this is what the Liberals want to make it about. But in the process, they showed that he actually came in support of the truckers, and which has been in question. A lot of people have asked that question. But that's the thing. Vax people are sheeps. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. O'Toole was a tool. That's right. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. But what was I going to get into? I had a whole plethora of things that I wanted to talk about before we get into. Yes, this was another clip that went viral after Trump took the election on Tuesday, which again, I'm very happy about. I'm very happy that happened. And I think that's going to be a good thing for Canada. And we can talk about that. I think we're going to get into that later with Marc, but I want to show this. This is one of the best things I think that came out of the US when it came to politics. Now, this is a shift that occurred in the Republican Party in the United States of America when they basically stripped Ron Paul of his rightful contest in the Republican National Convention. He was doing very well. And at the time, this is back in 2008, I believe. At the time, you know, he comes in as a libertarian. And if you don't know who Ron Paul is, he's fantastic. He's been talking about the Federal Reserve, educating people on economics and how our economics have not been great. And we're talking Canada, US, across the board, not been good. And we've been getting hosed. We've been getting, you know, sent up the creek without a paddle. What do you want to call it? They're inflating our money and they're stealing our money away is what they've been doing. Now, I wanted to showcase this bit because what happened to Ron Paul woke up a lot of people and ended up becoming this catalyst for a populist, you know, resurgence in the Republican Party. Now, this might turn into something else as well within the Democrats, because I think the Democrats are a lot like the liberals right now. They're cracked, they're broken. It's a terrible elitist party that has no room for anybody, and they've shown that by last go around booting Bernie Sanders, and this go around just the Democrat Party having non-democratic primaries. That's amazing too. So that was an interesting one. But of all the people, Chunky Yogurt or Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks came out, and he has a meltdown, an absolute meltdown. But this is a good one. This is a great meltdown that he has, because what he says here, I think, will open up a lot of people's minds. It'll open up a lot of people's eyes to see what's going on with the party, and the fact that they're just an elitist party that are top down trying to dictate to you where they think that things should go. And I love this because people are waking up. Now, whether the Democrats go in the right direction or the wrong direction, I don't know how that's going to be. But I think a lot of people that we're blindly following the Democrats, they're going to see this and they're going to wake up because and start thinking critically. And as soon as people start thinking critically, then they'll get away from a lot of the leftist ideology, in my opinion, anyway. In my opinion, not everybody, but I think a lot of them will. Brendo Weeb, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, with a $6.99 super chat. Do you remember all the hype on vaccines before COVID? Talk of should kids not up to date with vaccines be all allowed in schools? Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy what they were saying. And, you know, even Donald Trump at the time was trying to rush these vaccines, get them available to people. But I think where he differs is, like, he really did not want to mandate any of this stuff. It was always supposed to be something that would be available. And it was hoping to be something that would be good. Didn't turn out to be that way. But let's get into this Cenk Uygur thing, because this is just amazing. I love this clip.
These Democratic leaders are simpletons. They're servants of the donor class. So they go in there like, oh, donor, give me money, please. And I made an ad. I'm Kamala Harris. I'm full of joy.
I love this.
Okay, well, what did that get you? And they say, oh, Jake, you're too angry. Too angry? What? You think, does Donald Trump look like he's kind? Does he look like he's in a good mood? I mean, no, people
he is today.
some sort of reaction from their politicians. They want them to represent them, to fight for them. But that has never occurred to a Democrat outside of Bernie Sanders, and probably we never will. So look, I have no interest in listening to a single Democratic politician ever again. They can go kiss my ass. They can do whatever they want, and we never listen to them anyway. And they hate us because we're right and they're wrong. They're always wrong, and they hate us for being right. Okay, so but they're not going to learn. You have to beat them in a primary. That's your only hope. And so if you say it's
so he's saying what he's saying here makes a lot of sense, actually. And this is what this is actually how he helped Ocasio-Cortez get into her spot in government, was by beating an incumbent out in a primary and getting Ocasio-Cortez in, who is supposed to be their spokesperson for extreme leftism, or, you know, progressivism as they call it. And that didn't work out because she went right into the machine. She became part of the apparatus overnight. She was just a puppet that they were installing. But he's right. It's about getting these people out in the primary process, and it's the only way to change these parties. And this is what people wised up to in the Republican Party. And this is how you got like guys like Matt Gaetz and a bunch of others that have gone in that are pro MAGA, pro Make America Great Again, pro Trump, and not just establishment rhinos. And this is the argument that he's giving forward, that this is the only way to dismantle the party. And I would actually agree with that sentiment. Even in Canada, the best way to get the politicians that you want is to get involved at the party level of the politics and choose the people that are going to run in the first place. You know, if you don't do it, guess who's going to do it? Calistanis, all these other groups, because anybody who can vote in these primaries, that you don't even have to be Canadian. I'm not kidding. This is the reality.
Super hard to beat him in a primary because of the lying sons of bitches on mainstream media who will smear you to no end, who will fight harder against progressives and populists than Republicans or Donald Trump or anyone else. Well, brothers and sisters, nobody said life was fair. So we got to go fight that mainstream media. We got to destroy that mainstream media that is filled with lies on top of lies about how the politicians are so honest and the donors have no control over policy. They have 100% control over policy. Everyone in mainstream media is a liar who goes, oh, well, here's a bill. Well, I'm not going to talk about the donors at all. Oh, I think they're having an ideological debate. Oh, look at that. The donor class won the ideological debate again, but I won't call them the donor class. I won't tell you that it's corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats that are playing good cop and bad cop against you the entire time. So these Democratic leaders are the most useless people on earth. If they're not all fired, the Democratic Party is out of its mind. So as the voters, you have to understand, those guys have a vested interest in protecting their own ass and protecting their money and their privilege and their status. You need to fire them. They're not going to fire themselves. You think Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Kamala Harris, and all these people go, oh yeah, I got Jamie Harrison at DNC. Oh yeah, I guess we were the problem. You think the Democratic consultant class that have been robbing you blind this entire time is going to go, oh, I guess we were the problem. No, you have to fire them.
I love this. I absolutely love this because Chunky Yogurt. How do you say his name? The Young Turks guy. I don't know why. Real big mishap calling it the Young Turks. I mean, the Young Turks were the ones that were the culprits during the genocide against the Armenian people. It would be like being a young German American and having a show called The Hitler's Youth. It really is that bad. But that being said, he's really right on this. He's right on this. And I don't agree with most of everything that Chunk Uger says. I don't agree much with him at all. He's a progressive. He's got some really bad ideas, in my opinion, on economics. He's got some really terrible ideas, really, really destructive ideas about taxation and all of this stuff. But I can agree to disagree with him, right? That's the idea here. He's really stumbled on something here, though, and this is that the Democrat Party don't care about the people that vote for them or even their opinions or any of that stuff. They're not there for you. They're there for themselves and their boys club. And that's the way it's going to be. That's always the way it's going to be. And I love that it's coming from this guy. I love that this is the message now coming from the mainstream. Well, you know, in the new mainstream left. We've seen Jimmy Dore, who left his show, come full on out. And he's not a right-leaning guy by any stretch of the imagination. He's still left-leaning, but sensible left. I want to see more of that. I want to see more sensible left. We have this guy, Chunk Uger, just figuring it out. Anna Kasparian, his host, has been really catching on and having some based moments in the past couple of year and a half. And I want to see more of this. I want to applaud this because I think it's a step in the right direction. And especially, let's talk about the right direction. Let's talk about going in the right direction. I think Canada can go in the right direction, but we've absolutely not been going in the right direction, especially fiscally. When it comes to all the stuff our government has been doing. And the best thing, though, is to pay attention to what critics have been saying. And tonight, I have a great critic who's going to be joining the show. And he's been talking about this. And I alluded to him coming on earlier, and he's been making waves on TikTok. He's been making waves on Instagram. I'm a follower. I've been following him for some time now, and I want to encourage more people to go over and watch this kind of content, because it's educational, it's entertaining, but it'll teach people a little bit more about finance, about what's going on with our government when it comes to fiscal responsibility. And I think we're lacking in that department when it comes to just a general understanding. And I think Mark Nixon is really knocking it out of the park. And I want to welcome to the show, Mark Nixon. Come on in. Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, Clyde. This is wonderful. And happy Friday to everyone.
Yeah, happy Friday. Have you got yourself a wobbly pop? I've been
just water
diving in. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Great. So again, I can't say enough about how much of a fan of your content I am. Your energy is just way out there. It's it's not doom and gloom. Like you're not bringing people. You're bringing doom and gloom stories, but you're not bringing it in a doom and gloom way. You have a great way of getting people excited, make people laugh. That kind of thing. What made you even want to get started in bringing this kind of content out?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of looked online and I said, a lot of people have great information. And I'm like, wow, there's just so much great information. But we've turned into a society that has like zero attention span.
You're right.
It's like next. We just even those dating apps. I'm married, so I don't, but I see other people, they're just like swipe right. And it's like everything's swiping. So it's hard to catch people's attention. There's some like gurus and some like really smart people. They read absolutely everything, but a lot of people, they absorb their content within, a couple minutes, and it has to be exciting, engaging. And when it comes to finance, it's pretty boring, to be honest. Like, you could sit there and it's, looking at numbers, and it just gives people a headache. Like within, 10 minutes, like, hey, I've had enough. And if you listen to any of the stuff that our politicians are saying, I mean, it's enough to, like, Chrystia Freeland, it's like nails, like on a chalkboard. And it's very difficult to, sit and listen to one of her press conferences.
Well, it absolutely doesn't help that when she talks to you like she talks to everybody like they're children. And it's it's absolutely infuriating to have someone who's so underqualified for her position to talk down to you when you're listening to her.
Yeah. So like, you have to pay attention, though, because sometimes they'll drop little pieces of information. And what's important is, like, for example, for me, I need to know all of the information, because what the government does is going to affect mortgage interest rates. It's going to affect what real estate values, are they going up or down? Like, for example, look at their immigration numbers. Like, what, it's hilarious. So they did a study where, so they have this government, all they do is study this, study that. It's all about studying. And they spend, millions upon millions to study something. Anyway, they did a study about mass immigration. And you know what the study said? It's going to cause a housing crisis. So they actually...
So they knew this ahead of time. They
knew.
Absolutely
knew. And, the thing is that they actually want more expensive real estate prices. They actually want real estate prices to go up. How could I say that? Well, let's just take a look at their track record. So since Trudeau's been elected in 2015, how much has real estate gone up in value? It's not a coincidence. It's
crazy amounts.
So everything they do is all about creating more expensive real estate, because they all own real estate. I think it should be like one of those things. If you're a politician, you shouldn't be profiting from real estate. Like it shouldn't happen. So they all have real estate. Like Trudeau's got this massive portfolio. I mean, it's gone up in value. Even Pierre Poilievre has real estate. Like they all have real estate. So they have a vested interest to see their real estate values go up.
But devil's advocate here. So like anyone and everybody in Canada, you talk to a financial advisor over the past decade or more, they'll tell you, oh, you need to get into real estate. So if you're a politician and you're like, oh, I got some money and I need to invest it, what should I do? And they talk to the same financial advisors. They're like, yeah, buy real estate, have rental properties, that kind of thing. I don't think it's sound advice, but it is the advice they're giving.
But think about this. So 40% of our economy is real estate. And then the other 40%.
It's a terrible disaster.
And then the other 40% is government. So what leaves
okay,
us
that's a recipe for the worst disaster ever.
Well, that's the thing. So like even in the US, I mean, real estate is pretty important there. And people are able to get actual yield. Like they could get like I don't know if anybody do you know about cap rates? So cap rates is your return on investment. It's when you look at cap rates, and so a cap rate, say you get a 6% cap rate, that's 6% per year return on your investment. So in Canada, if you're investing in real estate, your cap rate is tiny, like 3%. You know, with our inflation that we've had, you need those property values to go up because you're going to be sinking. If you actually look at 70% of the condos in the Greater Toronto area are cash flow negative. Think about that. That's huge.
That's massive.
Yeah. So
what does that mean? So everybody's on the same page. What does that mean if you're cash flow negative?
So it means that you need to, hopefully you're making money in your business or your job, because you're going to have to be putting money in. So somebody's paying $2,000 a month in rent, but your mortgage is $3,200. Where's the $1,200 going to come from?
So the analogy would be like if you have a job, but it costs you more money to drive your car to work, pay the insurance, all these things that get you to work than you get from the job itself. That's being cash flow negative.
Yeah, but I mean, like in an investment, right? Say you have an investment. Yeah. So these people are gambling that the value is going to go up. So who cares about the 12 grand that you're feeding into this thing? And that's been, but the thing is that's been the case for how long, right? How long has that been the case? So, realtors are guilty of pushing this narrative, right? Say, buy it. It's going to go up in value. Who cares about the 12,000 or whatever it is? Actually, to be honest with you, I would suggest yourself and your viewers to actually look up how, like, the percentage of cash flow negative, and then by how much. It's significant. And then we have a situation where when interest rates were at rock bottom, people were developing like crazy because it was basically free money. You could develop stuff for nothing. And if you do the CMHC construction loans, you could get a construction loan for like close to 2% just a few years ago. So we have a lot specifically in like Vancouver and like Ontario, like Toronto, they were just building like crazy. And then Toronto, I believe there's like 50,000 units that were delivered or this year, and that need to be sold. And then there's the resale market is another like 1,400 or 14,000 units.
I just caught this article the other day. I'm gonna pop this up on the screen. This is from Better Dwelling. They do a lot of finance news, and they said Toronto real estate prices roll back to 2021 levels, near technical crash. Like we're in near crash territory for Toronto real estate at the moment.
Yeah. So this is one thing. Like, there's people that they're holding on with your life. They think it's going to, interest rates are going to be cut and, slashed. So I'm going to be like, okay, because it's going to bring back buyers. But the one thing that people don't really understand is the difference between so for all your audience today, I published on my YouTube channel a video that is, are you going to be purchasing a home or are you renewing a home in the next little while? Then you're going to want to pay attention. And I made a video on variable rates. What is it? Fixed term rates. What is it? And then like, where are we going with this whole thing, right? Like where are the rates going? And people are like, they believe that that with the Bank of Canada cutting interest rates, it's going to result in lower mortgages. But it doesn't. It does for variables. So variables priced on the Bank of Canada short term, so it fluctuates. I don't know if they're still offering the fixed payment variable rate, but that OSFI came out and said this was one of the most dangerous products out there. But the problem is when real estate values were skyrocketing higher, and then they had that stress test, people weren't able to qualify to buy anything. So what they would do is they picked this fixed payment variable rate, which allowed them to max out their borrowing power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, if interest rates did go up, their payments stayed the same. So what happened? So what happened is interest rates did go up, and then a lot of these mortgages are actually called negative amortization loans, which means that not only does your payment not cover the interest and principal, you have additional interest on top of that gets added to your loan. So your loan is getting bigger.
Oh, that's terrible. Is the idea that it's supposed to just be like, oh, this is temporary, it's only going to be until they lower the interest rates again and then you'll be in the clear? Or
well, it's just so people
there?
that bought at the top peak real estate prices, they have this fixed payment variable rate mortgage. You know, they're the people that are high risk of default right now. One thing that you'll notice is that the first three things that go is like credit card debt, home equity line of credit, business loans. Like those things are the first things to go, because
so when people do default, these are the things that they'll default on first.
Yeah, and then auto loans. So these are already skyrocketing. You could take a look at different charts that like these loans are going up, and then the last thing to go is mortgages, because people, they don't want to lose their home, right?
Right.
So we're already seeing an uptick. We are below 2019 levels. But it's just the pace of increase that is, that's the thing that we need to pay attention to. So I'm not too sure if people are doing this variable rate fixed mortgages. I don't know if it's a thing anymore. Most people are actually doing, I just saw something on the Bank of Canada. They provide some pretty good information on mortgages, and they showed that most people are actually doing 3-year fixed right now. So you could do, I think for 3-year fixed is like near 4.5%.
And that's because the interest rates have come down and they want to lock in at those rates.
Yeah, so I'm going to get at that. So, so variable rate, this is how it is. Like, this is my insight and my expertise, right? So,
yeah,
if you look at variable rate, usually what you do is you take the Bank of Canada rate and you add 1.25% on top of that.
Okay.
Then you get your variable rate. So right now we're at 3.75. So the variable rate is around 5%. And then sometimes if you have a little bit, you're not a AAA borrower, you have a little bit, your credit score is not as good, then you could be closer to 6%. So between 5 and 6%. But the lowest is usually about 125 over the Bank of Canada rate. So we're at 5%. The thing about fixed, it's priced on the Bank of Canada, or it's on the government bond. So usually, like in Canada, most borrowers do 5 years. So that's usually what I take a look at. So the 5-year GOC, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
And the 5-year GOC, I don't know if you could pull up a chart on that. Did I send you something of that? You might not. But anyway, if we could take a look at the 5-year GOC, that would be important.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. No problem. Was that one of the first ones you sent me? Okay, I'm going to have to.
I don't know if I sent it to you, but if I didn't, no, I don't think I sent it to you. Just look up, just do 5-year GOC.
Well, no problem.
Yeah.
On Google here. Yeah.
And so what happened is the Bank of Canada did that jumbo hike of 50 basis points, right? And so everybody's sitting there going, oh yeah, my mortgage is up for renewal. I'm looking forward to securing this lower interest rate. But the 5-year GOC actually went up since 35 basis points. So think about that swing. And so the problem is there's a few things that's going on. So yeah, here, so it's at 3. So in September, the 5-year GOC was, and if you want to go do a 6 months history, we're on the day. Yeah, just go 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months here.
Okay. So if you could see right there, it dropped down to 2.65 in September. And you can see in the last 6 months, it's just been going down and down and down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, it's been going up. So,
but not in like a hurry. I don't. The trend looks like a downward trend at the moment.
Yeah, until September 21st.
That's right. Yeah.
And now what? It's going up.
Yeah. Now it's on an upward trend. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take a chart and you look at something called the head and shoulders, reversal. So if you look at that, you look at the head and shoulders reversal diagram for stocks, then you'd be able to see that basically is down and then back up. So there's a couple news items that came out today, which is quite interesting. First of all, let's go back to, so before everybody thought that Harris was going to win, right? I mean, even mainstream media thought, hey, Harris is going to win. The liberals thought that Harris was going to win.
I didn't for 1 second think she was going to win.
When they saw, they're like, what? What do you mean that Trump wins? Because they're like, oh, and we have a plan. And then we're asking, okay, what's the plan? And the plan is that we have a plan. I'm like, oh, this is terrifying. They don't have a plan. They weren't expecting Trump to win, because actually, if you look at history, I believe it's only like 2 presidents came back after losing to win the second after they lost. So
yeah,
it's
that's
like,
right.
The likelihood is extremely rare, right?
Yeah,
So
but the likelihood of everything that's happened in the past 8 years is so. I mean, we're in new territory. We're breaking ground here. Anything's expected at this point.
Yeah, well, exactly. So the bond market and treasuries expected Harris to win, and if Harris won, then it would be less economic activity, right? Because she was going to cripple the economy with all these new taxes. They're going to tax,
that's right.
Just like the liberals. Like, if there's a problem, they just show up and come up with a new tax. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to tax this. We're going to tax that.
They were talking about taxing unrealized gains. Like, they have no idea how dangerous that is economically. Like, that could crash an economy. Like, destroy
Well, that's the thing. So what's going to create lower bond yields and lower treasuries is actually economic, like a recession or depression.
Yeah.
That would crash the bond market, right? Because inflation's dead and economic growth is dead. So the bond market would be dead. Like, it would be way down. When the thing is if economic growth is strong and also there's potentially inflation that's going to occur, then you're going to see an increase in the bond market and increase in the treasuries. Even if our economy in Canada is in a depression or recession, it doesn't matter, because our bond market is heavily influenced by the US. So the US could be booming with Trump, and then we have the liberals destroying Canada with their 35% reductions in emissions and all the other stuff that they're doing to strangle our economy. Our bond market could be expensive, and people are not ready for this. They have no idea what's happening or what's going to happen. There is a strategy, obviously, for you to be able to succeed in all of this. And I can explain it to your viewers, but
well, before we get into that, like, what are your views on the Austrian economic idea? That, because there's the different schools of thought. You know, there's the Keynesian school, there's the Chicago school, Milton Friedman, then there's the Austrian school with F.A. Hayek and Ludwig von Mises. And the thought there is that the economic recession is actually the cure to the disease, or the idea of, like, The hangover is actually what makes you better. You know, you drank too much of this cheap liquidity, this cheap money, and we need a recession. We need a slowdown for capital growth to occur and savings to reaccrue in the market economy. What do you think of that concept?
You're thinking logically.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is this government, and even in the U.S. Think about this in the U.S. You have 4 years, and then you're out. That means they don't care about what happens after 4 years. So yes, no one's willing to take the pain to get the gain later. They just want short-term pleasure. It's all about stimulus and drinking the pops or whatever. Like it's all about the party. It's not about
the wobbly pops,
hangover.
but too many of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's the hair of the dog. It's you just, before you know it, your liver's shot because you're like, well, I avoided the hangover by just drinking more. Well,
that's the thing.
Never
It's they're
going
to keep this party going. And like in Canada, you look at what just came out today. I mean, we should take a look at what came out today. With Chrystia Freeland announced that Statistics Canada has now revised 2021, 2022, and 2023 GDP numbers.
Okay.
So
do you have that on your Twitter? Can I pop it out?
You know what? I sent it to you in your inbox. The chart.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. You sent me a few charts. Which one was it?
Yeah. So this one's Canada's GDP growth revised higher.
Got
it's
it.
One of the first ones I sent it to you.
Let's pop this up here. Okay, there we go.
Perfect. Okay, so this is just for last year, but they revised 2021, 2022, and 2023. And then you have every single Liberal republish this everywhere. So what happens when your Liberal Party is absolutely almost below, or I don't know, they might be below NDP right now, but they're decimated in the polls.
Yeah,
they're in panic mode. Trump just won. There's the Green Slush Fund. There's the 11 MPs. There's it's endless stuff that comes on a daily basis. I'm like, how are they still even in government with all these scandals? And then they're like, we need to turn this thing around. So why don't we just start presenting all of these brand new GDP numbers and show the population that, hey, we've grown so much. So, okay, let's take a look at this. Clyde, tell me if you notice anything that stands out that's been revised. So the revised is black, and then the other one, the blue, is the old numbers.
What's the old numbers from? Okay, so
the old numbers was they revised all the old numbers upwards. But there's something that should stand out to you immediately.
Yeah, it jumps out at me that government expenditures jumped massively.
Bingo. So we're growing our GDP for the last 3 years because of government spending. So
right.
It's not, so if you one government job, you need 4 private sector jobs to pay for one public sector job. So if you're growing that quickly, where is that money coming from?
Out of Chrystia Freeland's
it's coming
orifices.
From,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming from
Borrow
debt.
Now, pay later. So this is a lag for future growth because you're borrowing your children's money. Okay. So that's basically what this government has done from the beginning as well, is we went from $600 billion in debt. We're above 1.2 trillion now. So they're borrowing our future growth and then showing us these GDP numbers and saying, look how good we're doing. And you know what the worst part is that the amount of money that they're injecting in, we're getting very little return for our dollar. That's how scary this is, because for every dollar they're putting in, we're getting like $1 back in growth. And on top of that, Clyde, think about this. We just brought in like over 3 million people in 3 years. And we only get like, if you look, so this was last year, we got from 1.2 to 1.5% growth increase. So if you are growing at 3% population growth and you're only getting 1.5% GDP growth, That is not considered good. We should get at least 3% growth as opposed if our population is growing. So what's happening?
So this is why people are focusing on GDP per capita now, right? This is why those numbers
you'll
are
never
more...
see that on the mainstream media, and our government will never talk about it. We have 1 in 4 people in Canada that has food insecurity. We have 2 million visits at the food bank monthly, so that's 24 million food bank visits per year in Canada. And like, people are, if I talk to people all the time, they said, you know what, I've never made so much money in my life, yet I can't afford anything. Like, I can't go on a vacation. I can't take my kids to, Disneyland. I can't do anything. I'm actually looking for quarters under my couch to buy a coffee. And that's my luxury item. It's so sad. And these people are making like 100 grand a year.
Yeah, it's no joke. Like, people are turning around the most amount nominally that we've ever turned out, and you can't afford anything.
So think about this: property taxes in 3 years is up 30% on average, and then car insurance is up 50% in some, not in BC, but in other provinces. And then grocery prices, I mean, they say it's only 32% in the last 3 or 4 years. But we all know when I go, I'm like, man, I swear it's up 100%. My grocery, I used to spend like, $250 a week was pretty normal. I have a family of 5, and now we're well over $500. I know.
Congratulations, by the way. I think everyone should have a family of 5. I'm gonna get on making a couple more then.
When I had the kids, the inflation was near 0.
Yeah, right.
No, I wouldn't change it. I love my children. It's all good. But it's you got to work hard, right? I mean, it's crazy. So it's one other thing that I want people to understand is if you have rampant inflation, like everything costs more. So for example, if you look at retail sales, they show us, they're like, look, retail sales aren't doing that well. But let's say inflation went up 10%. And then they show us retail sales and they go, look, retail sales are up 10% from a year ago.
That means they're at par, if anything.
But that's not how they're going to show it. They're going to show it as, this is bullish. Retail sales are up from 10% from before, because the numbers do not show how many units are sold. It just shows that the revenue has gone up 10%. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a nominal
So their GDP numbers, their GDP numbers are, if we grow 3%, think about all the inflation. We've grown 3% or 1.5. Think about all the inflation. That means we're not growing at all.
And that's if you even believe the inflation numbers, because like I've been looking at what they do with this basket of goods that they keep talking about, and this is what people don't understand about inflation. When we talk about inflation, we're really talking about the effects of inflation. We're not talking about what inflation actually is. Inflation is an increase in the monetary supply. Bar none. That's what it is. That's what it is. What we're looking at is the increase in the price of goods. And then that's kind of the effects that trickle down over time when more money is put out into circulation. People might call it velocity, whatever you want to call it. There's just more money out there, and it dilutes the value of the money that you currently hold. Now, the first people that get it, they're getting the benefit of having that money right away. But everybody else who has savings and stuff, when they finally go to spend their money, they've lost some of the value from the day that they earned it. Now, what's crazy about this basket of goods thing is they keep changing what's in the basket. It's like having, like, I'm a mechanic. I have a caliper for measuring things. If my caliper, if the little like notches on it kept changing as I'm working on things, I'd never be able to guess the size of exhaust pipes or brake rotors, things like that, because I would constantly be looking at this ever-changing scale and never be able to determine what's going on. And this is what they're doing with the CPI, with the Consumer Price Index. They have this basket of goods, but they keep changing what goods are in the basket, how much, and how much we reflect on how much the price is. So how do we ever get a good read for inflation?
think about this, Clyde. They just revised 3 years worth of GDP numbers today.
And where do they get these revisions?
See? Well, they got the revision because the liberals saw that Trump won and they have to come out with some good news. That's my opinion. It could be anything, but that's my opinion. It's
it's a
very
valid
convenient
one.
that 3 years worth of GDP numbers were just announced today. So they had some good news to announce to Canadians after some bad news the last couple days.
It isn't real good news though. Like, this is the thing. It's not
But
real.
a lot of Canadians don't understand. And I see it all the time because my TikTok videos get to easily 100,000 per video, easy. So I get
That's
a lot of
impressive.
comments,
Wow.
and I don't like to block people. I let I let people say what they want to say, even if it's attacking me. But if somebody threatens me or says something like that, they're gone. But overall, you get some people from every walks of life. Some people believe in, the liberals and all that, and that's fine. They say their thing. But a lot of these people that, they believe in the liberals and NDP and stuff, they literally soak up every single thing that comes out and they don't fact check anything. So they hate my content because I only provide facts and data. That's how everything I say is supported by data, right? So how do you dispute data when I guess we could dispute these data figures, but when you're showing truth, like this is data, this is how everybody interprets it differently. But, a lot of these people, they hear, oh, look at all this GDP growth. And then that's what they believe. But it's like, have you not gone outside? Like you, Clyde, you live in BC, right? So
it's so hard to tell these people though that they're being lied to, because what the liberals then say in their next breath is, and don't go to the internet because everything's misinformation. You know what I mean?
They're going to be taking down TikTok. It's unbelievable what they're doing.
It's crazy. It's crazy because it not only are they telling you a bunch of baloney, it's provably baloney. It's provably baloney. Like, hey, look over here. Like, here, open up the curtain. Here's the the wizard here pulling the strings. He's just changing the CPI numbers. That's what's going on. The inflation is not going down, but the Bank of Canada is playing along with this game. They're lowering interest rates as if the inflation numbers have actually gone down, and that's what they've cited.
You say that, but so I saw an interview where they asked Jerome Powell. They said, "Hey, Jerome Powell's the Federal Reserve, the head guy. He's like,
he's the chair now.
Jerome Powell, yeah.
Okay, I haven't paid attention since Janet Yellen. Yeah, I thought it was Janet Yellen.
No, he's in charge, and the thing is, he's done a terrible job, right? So
all of them.
Yeah,
it's like Greenspan.
So they said, "Well, if Trump fires you, will you leave?" And he said, "No."
I did see that.
And he said, "No, I'm not going anywhere." And you know what's interesting about the whole thing is that the Federal Reserve, which was created, 100 whatever years ago,
1913 on Jekyll Island of all places, is really crazy.
They don't have they're not connected to the U.S. government, so they're their own entity. They could do whatever.
They're as federal as Federal Express. It's a private company.
Yeah, it's a private company, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, what I want your viewers to don't freak out. Like that's not the whole point. And usually on my stuff too, it's like there's no point in freaking out. But if you could look at the information, understand the information, then you could be ahead of the vast majority of the population in knowledge. And that's very powerful. That means you can make the right decisions for your family. You could interpret the information, which will allow you to make the right decisions. And for example, this, I've been telling people for a long time, like take on a second job, cut like additional expenses, like lower your expenses, because, there's going to be potentially a generational wealth created in the next 2 years in Canada. Because there's going to be a problem that's going to surface. It's going to be, and it could be a serious problem for a lot of people. But this is also an opportunity for people to get into the real estate market, or, you know, even if it's not in Canada, there's opportunities around the world that you could take advantage of. Like, where is the opportunity? And it's important that we share our knowledge with everybody so that we're all on the same page and we're sharing, what we're doing. So one thing, if there's people out there that are looking to renew their mortgage and they're wondering, should I do fixed? Should I do variable? What a lot of people are doing right now is they're doing the variable rate, which is attached to the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada is most likely going to be cutting interest rates in December and January.
Sorry, it looks like I'm not paying attention. I am. My son just brought me a beer. That's all.
That's nice. That's good.
He just came in.
No, they're going to continue to cut interest rates. They said that their neutral interest rate is 2.75%. Right. I think they're going to go way below 2.75 because this is not going to be a neutral rate situation. I think there's going to be emergency cuts.
How devastating is that for our currency, though? I mean,
our currency is like it's so. If you follow me on X, I provide charts and stuff, and I actually went and I showed people that we hit 72 cents 4 times in the last 23 years. And every single time we've hit it, we've bounced back up. Right? So we're at 71.85. If we break down below 70 cents, what is there to keep us from falling further? Because usually when it comes to the market, when people are all about like looking at resistance levels and looking at, all the charts. But once the chart breaks down and there's no like floor and we break through the floor, then you enter something called price discovery. And price discovery, it could go significantly lower. Right now, what's happening, and the reason that we haven't broken down below 72 cents is the Bank of Canada purchased a ton of foreign, U.S. bonds and foreign currency. And right now what's happening is the Bank of Canada is selling the foreign currency and buying Canadian currency, propping up our dollar. How long could that last for, though?
Until we can stop buying it. Until we run out of money to buy it. Like, what are we going to do?
That's what I'm looking at. I mean, you could go and search it up. Like, so you want to pay attention to, that's what Bank of Canada is doing. But like, if we continue to hear bullish economic data from the U.S., and then our economic data is the opposite of bullish, then that's where, I don't know how much they could buy to keep our currency elevated. That's what I'm getting at. There could be that like, hey, they tried, but it's like, there's just too much negative in Canada compared to the US, which we're seeing.
Well, then you throw on top of that what the Austrian school also calls they have this term, it's regime uncertainty. And it's the idea of a government in an area is really bad for investment. So investors just stay away from it. So it's too high risk. They don't, for whatever reason. I mean, whether they're confiscating property, which we've seen in Canada, whether they're threatening new taxes that are just arbitrary and weird, like we've seen in Canada, it's going to chase investors out. Investors that, like, we have so much when it comes to natural resources and all this stuff. We could be building tons of infrastructure here. But nobody wants to spend their money. Foreign investors don't want to come in with their money. Canadians are leaving with their capital instead of investing here in Canada. And it's all because of this regime uncertainty idea. And this is devastating for an economy.
Yeah, so we just found out that $485 billion is flooding out of Canada and going to the US. Something that's been unheard of. Usually it's the other way around. We've had investments in Canada. The thing is that it's just like if you look at how much oil we have, our oil reserves, we're in the top 5. I think we're like 3rd most oil in the world. And then when you look at all of the resources that we have, and we actually have nuclear, like we have uranium, we have all of the minerals that the whole world wants, plus we have all the water that the world wants. And we have all the land that the world wants. And we have no population, like 40 million compared to China's got like 1.2 billion. India, I think, is 1.4 billion. And they have way smaller countries than Canada. What I'm getting at is we should be the richest country on planet Earth, but we are run by imbeciles.
Yeah, we should be Saudi Arabia, the cold version.
And we're just virtue signaling to the world that we want to save the planet from burning up. At what cost? At the cost of us all living in a tent in the coldest country on planet Earth. And the thing is that their 35% reduction in oil and gas is equivalent to 1 or 2 days of China's emission output. I've done the math. That is insane. So and guess what? They say it's an emission cap. It's actually a production cap because we don't have the technology to be able to do that in such a short amount of time. Like we're innovating now, but we're not going to be able to reduce the emissions by 35% by their 2030. There's no way. So what they're doing is they're essentially they showed how many, like, it's hundreds of billions of dollars. And guess what? All that money goes towards our healthcare system. So if you think our healthcare system sucks right now, just wait till they crush our oil and gas. We're not going to be able to get any kind of service.
It's unbelievable. I'm trying to find that clip of Stephen Guilbeault saying, "Oh, this is it. I found it." Or no, I've just found image of it. Never mind. So he makes a statement saying that we're going after, and what is the term that he uses? Oh, I found the clip. Okay, I'll pop this up. Because this is just, I mean, there's no better way to explain it. Before we get to the clip, I want to address one comment in the chat. Lorak asks, is there any books on Austrian School of Economics for Dummies? 2 books actually 3 books I would actually absolutely recommend. One is Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. Great book, real easy read, quick understand. Another one is It's a Jetsons World by Jeffrey Tucker. Amazing layout for that book. It's very quick and easy to read. And then the other one is the classic, and that's The Road to Serfdom, F.A. Hayek. Read those books. You will be an Austrian economist tomorrow. You'll be sold. You'll absolutely want to get into that. Let's get to this clip of Guilbeault talking about what does he say? It's this brand new term. He calls it he calls it climate pollution, because they're not allowed to call carbon dioxide a pollutant, because it isn't, but this is a way of getting around that by calling it a climate pollution. But this is their plan for us in the future.
2.5 years ago, we launched the most comprehensive climate plan in our country's history. Every sector, every region, every measure, every investment. And our vision was simple: healthier communities, good jobs in a cleaner, stronger economy. And as Julie said, it's working. Our pollution levels are down while the economy is running at full steam. And we should all be driving toward the same goal: safe, prosperous, healthy future for all. And every sector must do its part. Oil and gas companies are no exception. Canada's oil and gas sector account for almost 1/3 of our climate pollution. More than double combined pollution from all other heavy.
You hear that?
And the oil and gas sector has also been experiencing record profits. Those profits have grown tenfold since the pandemic, going from $6.6 billion.
Look at the far right top.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
And
You see him? Oh, you missed it.
Consensus on the need to transition to a cleaner future. Now is the window of opportunity. And so I'm proud to introduce Canada's draft regulations to cap pollution from the oil and gas sector. Those regulations will help to cut pollution by 35% below 2019 levels, while providing compliance flexibility. In doing so, we will create a cap and trade system for the sector. It will reward low polluting facilities and incentivize higher polluting facilities to invest. We've worked closely to develop what is
So what happens when you put cap and trade on a sector? Well,
but I want to say something first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that people are aware, there's no other country doing this.
No. And if we're talking about carbon dioxide, we're one of the lowest, if not probably a net sequesterer of carbon dioxide.
Well,
because of our
we don't
fast
consider
growth.
the boreal forest, which is the second largest forest on planet Earth. And then they act as if it doesn't. I mean, you'll get like some reports that say, "Hey, we're actually emitting because it's burning down and stuff." But at the end of the day, if you do forest management, you cut the tree before it emits. We're not doing that. A lot of the stuff that we're just not doing a good job. So actually, what was really interesting is in the House of Commons today, they talked about that, and this is like crazy, is they showed that Canada is not making our emissions target at all. And this is their own like environmental consultant thing. So basically we have the US that have zero carbon taxes. There are 4 states that have their own carbon cap and trade or whatever. But
California and a few others, right?
Yeah, and then there's no federal carbon tax. Their emissions are lower today than they were in 1973.
Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. I'm a mechanic, so I could tell you just the smell of cars from the 90s to today is massively different.
So, but the thing is that countries around the world are lowering their emissions because it's the right thing to do, without crushing their economies and without charging these carbon taxes. Like, and you know what the problem is as well? Is the transparency level is 0. Like they're not transparent at all. They don't provide us the data. They try to sneak around and hide everything. Like if it was such a great thing, let's show us, because if you actually go and try to look at the emissions, it's 2 years old. Like all of their data is 2 years ago. Like they don't have anything live or anything current, and so it's all like before, right? And they're not really showing us like, hey, this much carbon tax reduced pollution, or well, they call it pollution. It's not even pollution. CO2 is needed for plants. It's not even pollution.
It's not pollution.
It's not.
You can actually legally get in trouble for calling it pollution because of precedent in courts and stuff. It's not pollution. Pollution is chemicals, like things that go in, and we all agree we should have less chemicals going into the air, into the waterways, and into the forests, into the soil bed, and all of that stuff. We would all agree on that. It's no good for us. It's no good for anybody. But CO2 is just, I mean, we breathe it out. It's a thing, and yeah, it emits from things, and it's an emission. But are we really producing that much of it?
Well, so humans emit 3% of all the CO2 that the Earth emits, right?
What, just breathing?
No, it's just like because of natural. So one thing that they showed is temperatures move before CO2. So temperatures actually increase and then CO2 follows by a few hundred years. If you look back historical data. I read that
in Patrick Moore's book. He had a great book called Fake Invisible Catastrophes and Threats of Doom. He actually was incidentally one of the guys that founded Greenpeace, and he left it because they went ideologically crazy. Yeah, he wrote another book called Confessions of a Greenpeace Dropout. Really good read. I recommend it to everybody. But yeah, it's you got yours yelling in the background too, I can see. But yeah, it really is this thing. Like there is a contest in conversation now of, is this really something that we're going to risk our entire economy for, this unilateral Canadian drive to save the planet from CO2 emissions, which you pointed out so brilliantly, that everything that we're doing is basically 1 day's worth of Chinese emissions in a year.
Yeah, 1 day, one day of China, and I did the math. I provided on my X account. You could take a look at it. So if China emits 11.3 billion tons of CO2, and Canada emits 701 million tons. And oil and gas represents 30% of that. And we're going to be reducing the 30% by 35%. That is 10.5% reduction in Canada's CO2. Canada's CO2 is 1.5% of total global emissions. And if we actually do the math on the 11.3 billion, and we take our reduction of 10.5%, and we put it into China, that number towards China's emissions. What you do is you take China's emission or the reduction, you divide it by the 365, and then you're going to get 1 day. Like it's just 1 day. The reduction is 1 day, or well, it's 2.2, but it's a couple days. Like it's ridiculous.
And China's increasing their capacity all the time. So 2.2 might turn into 2 to turn into 1 to turn into a couple of hours. No time. But
not only that is like so that people know that so coal is they have 3,600 coal burning power plants, 3,600, and those emit 5.85 billion tons of CO2. Natural gas burns 50% less CO2 for the same amount of energy. So if we sold, and we have like 1.4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, including BC and Alberta, like it's insane. If we sold our natural gas, which we could abstract at a way lower carbon footprint than anyone in the whole world, and we sold it to China and replaced all of their coal burning power plants, and it would be an easy conversion because it's just burning one thing to burning another thing, right? And then you sold the natural gas, it would reduce the CO2 from 5.85 to like 2.75 billion. And if Canada is 701 million, we would be 2 billion below net zero just by doing that. Think about that.
Unreal.
It's unreal. And the thing is, it's like the people, either they're dumb or they're not doing the math, because the math is pretty easy to do. Like I'm just doing the math right here. Like it's easy. Well, I'm a math guy, right? I do finance, but still it's easy math. Someone that, anybody could do it.
So here's the question that a lot of Canadians have right now. We're not quite there yet, but we're moving towards an election in Canada, and it looks like it's going to go towards the Conservatives. I mean, the polls are really they're showing it that way. If Trump had a landslide in America with where the polls were going there, I mean, it looks like a mega landslide here in Canada in the next election, just by the polls and the popularity or the lack thereof of Justin Trudeau. So, do the Conservatives turn this around? Like, I know that they have more sensible stuff when it comes to, emissions, the environment, business. Just they're more friendly for business. They're better when you want to get rid of taxes. They're talking about limiting a bunch of taxes, even in the housing market, like getting rid of GST on new builds under $1 million. These kinds of things. Is it enough though? Like, is it actually?
There's a couple things that people need to be aware of. Is the Senate is 85% liberal now, and guess what? Trudeau said that he thought the Senate should be nonpartisan and blah blah blah, but then he went and replaced everybody with liberals. I don't know if you saw that. So that's a problem. Yeah,
no, I didn't see that.
Senate is 85% controlled by liberals now. They were.
I saw. I know. And one of the things that really kind of. He came in and he said they no longer party affiliated, but they are. They're
oh no, I don't know if you saw that woman that came out and said we're going to reduce the voting age to 16-year-olds. Did you see that from the Senate? A liberal woman. I'm like, are you joking me? The 16-year-olds are playing video games and they don't care about anything else. Like they're not at the age to even take care of themselves, let alone vote, right? And not only that, is the school system is far left, right?
Well, that's right. So they're indoctrinating children. Yeah, they're indoctrinating children, and then they're
that's the thing. The young voters, they don't know. Like your brain doesn't fully develop, at least for a man. Mine is still developing, but yeah, it's like 24, 25, right? I mean, that's then you have enough life experience to be able to make thought out decisions, right? And you could kind of make the right decision. But 16-year-olds, I mean, and that's what they're pushing, and that's from the Senate.
I always thought that if you worked for the government that you should be exempt from voting. I mean, that's my opinion, but I think that there's a conflict of interest there. You shouldn't be able to vote yourself other people's stuff. And it's kind of like how it used to be. You work for the post office or whatever, you take a pay cut, but you get job security. This is how you get largesse of government, is like more and more people work for the government. They just promise more people more stuff as employees. But I mean, this being said, this is where it goes. It just keeps going, where they want to get more and more involved and go lefter and lefter. Now, this moving forward with a conservative government, will it actually pan out? Like, is it too far gone, is what I'm kind of asking.
No, I mean it's, you know what, like I still, this is a personal belief, I still believe in Canadians. Like we are a pretty strong, educated, we're a good group, and they're going to make changes, and it's going to be pain. Like, you remember what you said, there's going to be some pain, but once we get through the pain, there's going to be better days. One thing that we need to do in Canada is we need to lower taxes, just like in the US, because when you lower taxes, then you and I have more money. We spend more money. That means if we're spending more money, the economy is growing, for real growing, and there's more production, there's more everything. And guess what? There's more tax revenue. But when you choke everything out with taxes, it doesn't create prosperity. You know what it creates? It creates people that are dependent on substances, and they're living on the street and in tents because people have lost all hope. They've lost hope in society. They're like, man, I'm making, what is minimum wage? $12.50? That's not going to get you anything. I mean, you know, in our society, you need to be working 3 or 4 jobs at $12.50 to be able to afford just to live on your own and not in your parents' basement. It's bad. It's bad.
Well, what you're talking about is the Laffer curve. So Laffer was an economist, and he came up with this concept that the more you tax people, it'll get to, like, people like begrudgingly pay their taxes up until a point that it becomes too overwhelming or too overburdensome that they check out. And there's a bunch of different ways.
You should go the Laffer curve, because that's exactly how it is. On the other side of the curve, you could increase taxes. Ever more increased taxes will be less and less tax revenue because it kills the economy. It's quite interesting. So we want to be like, I mean, we still have to have taxes to pay for stuff. So that's not the point. The point is just not to tax to the point where it kills growth, and that's where we're at right now. We're killing growth.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Laffer curve, I'm just popping it up here so everybody can see it. Yeah, here it is. And it's a bell curve. It's the tax rate, the tax revenue. As the tax revenue goes up, the tax rate goes down. And there's an increase as it goes up. Like I said, people begrudgingly paying their taxes. And then it gets to a point and it falls off a cliff just as quick as it went up. Falls completely off a cliff. And this is the thing, like, people have ways of checking out, especially in a modern economy nowadays. They'll transfer their money somewhere else. They'll move. They'll take their investments, go somewhere else. As you're seeing in Canada a lot, they'll emigrate out of the country. Like, not immigration, emigration, leave the country entirely. This is happening a lot, and it's because of I don't know how else to say this, but it's just so short-sighted from the Liberals. They're caught in a panic because they had, historically low interest rates, as was famously said by Justin Trudeau when he was asked how he's going to service the debt. Historically low interest rates, so they run up the debt, and then the interest rates flip, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, raise taxes," and it's like, raise taxes on what? Canadians are already taxed like crazy. The whole concept of Tax Freedom Day is this idea that, like, you work up until this day of the year before you ever get to keep a penny of your money. And it's in June. It's like well into June now. It's like more than 6 months of the year goes to the government of your hard-earned working hours. It's unbelievable. But this is the country that we live in. It's crazy.
And Clyde, so there was a thing that came out. There's our replacement rate. So in order to grow a population, you need to have 2 or more babies, because think about it, a couple have 2. So you need to at least have 2 babies to replace you, right? So if you have 3, then yeah, our population's growing but Canada currently has the lowest rate of 1.26 babies per couple. So we're actually not growing organically. What kind of country do you like? Is that the country that we want to have? A country that doesn't grow because it's too expensive? Because that's the case. It's too expensive. It's too expensive to live. So you don't have they're pushing off kids, and then once you reach 40, you're like, you know what? I don't want kids. So, but that's what we're
Or it's
creating.
just harder. It's just harder to have kids after 40. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting is I was watching there's a lot of meltdowns happening in the U.S. now that Trump's won, and the left side did a lot of the stuff that they did is really like it's interesting. Like for example, the celebrities. I'm not too sure why all the celebrities are like like. And they're like, we're going to be leaving the country if Trump gets elected, and it's going to be, and it's all.
What are they going to do? They're going to come up to Canada with all their wealth and then get taxed at the Canadian tax rate?
Well, I would warn them that in like 10 to 12 months, they're going to be flying to another country as well, right?
They're not going to like it here. The weather's miserable, and taxes are way through the roof.
Oh, in fact, and real estate's more expensive here than it is in the U.S. So good luck.
That's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And obviously Pierre Poilievre has been pointing it out, going to Niagara Falls and showing 2 equivalent houses on each side of the border, and like the massive discrepancy in price. It's crazy. And that's you discount the exchange rate, it's still unbelievably cheaper to live in the United States than it is to Canada.
Yeah. So I want to touch on Pierre Poilievre. I do believe he'll make things better. However, if you just watching my content, watching my channel, I don't care who is in power. So if it's a conservative, if it's NDP or liberal, it doesn't matter. I'm all about common sense. I'm all about looking at common sense, looking at the data, and keeping these people accountable, because I'm a Canadian citizen just like everybody else, and I want what's best for Canadians. So I'm going to look at the stuff. So it doesn't matter if it's Pierre Poilievre that's in charge, and I'm seeing something that I don't particularly agree with. I'm going to mention it. I'm not like, oh, let's go Pierre, or let's go. No, like I want these people to be accountable for their decisions. We need things to get better for Canadians. So we are going to hold Pierre Poilievre accountable to everything he said. You're cutting the carbon tax, like day one. You're removing you're removing the tampons in male washrooms. Day 2, okay?
CBC day 3, gotta go.
Yeah, CBC,
and
day 3 gone.
And subsidizing all the other news media, all these things that they promise. Yeah, we got to hold their feet to the fire, and I hope that Canadians can really, really keep to that. I really hope they can, because there's a lot of effort in slagging on Trudeau every single day in Canada, and he deserves it. He absolutely does. But if whoever comes in next, and it looks like it's going to be Pierre Poilievre, really needs to have that same attention. Maybe not, it doesn't deserve all the vitriol quite yet, but needs the same amount of attention paid to him. And I think this is just a lesson in civics, that people need to pay attention to what their government's doing and keep them on the right track, because it really is supposed to be, for the people. It's the House of Commons. We are the Commons. We need to be involved. And like you said, it doesn't matter which side. We need to have our influence in there to say, listen, these are the things we actually want you to be doing, not what you've been doing, because it's not working out for us.
No, exactly. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how things materialize in the US, because ultimately this is what happened. You get all these celebrities that are looking like on the left side, you get the, Harris and the whole thing. And, but what happened in the US was the people woke up and said, you know what? We're not buying any of this because we have to work 3 jobs in order just to pay the rent. Like they're even though it's the same as in Canada, their economic, for example, we got the 3 years worth of revisions in Canada today. In the US, their job markets are like so beautiful for the last year. And then in August, we got a whole year revision downwards. Almost 1 million jobs that they said that were created didn't even exist. It was 850,000 jobs gone. Then they had to come up with 2 more job reports before the election to make Harris like, look how good our economy is, vote for us. But even when they come out with all of these beautiful economic data and picture, on the ground, it showed most of the jobs created were bartenders and Uber drivers and Uber delivery drivers. Meaning people are working
part-time moonlighting jobs that people can make to take to make ends meet because their normal job doesn't cut it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, your job numbers, you're like, okay, so we have like, look, we have 60,000 more jobs this month or 200,000 more jobs. But how many of those, and in the report, it doesn't show this, how many of those people are working 3 jobs? That's the thing is that, and we could, that's the reason that we saw such a significant, like landslide victory for Trump, because they are like, you know what? We don't like Trump, but we are going to starve to death if we don't have change and economic change. Like we are suffering, right? So it's like, we don't want any more wars across the world. Like we don't want it. We want cheaper energy prices. We want economic prosperity for everybody. We want jobs to come back to America and have that protectionism. Like people are like, we need help, right? So hopefully we get that same wave in Canada because we're in the same boat. Like, our economy has done pitiful since the pandemic. They're saying best growth ever, best, and we're gonna have the best growth next year. Are you buying it, Clyde?
I'm not buying it at all. No, my rent went up by $20,000 this year. So yeah,
but who's buying this data that they're feeding us?
I don't think anybody's buying it anymore. It's just false, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting, is what it is, and it's almost like a virtual like Marie Antoinette moment of them saying, just let them eat cake, because it's not true. None of it's true.
I mean, I wish it was true because we could use some help here.
Oh, absolutely.
I wish it was true because it's, it's sad. And what's really sad too is, in BC, we had an opportunity to get a change of direction. Was it the right change? Was it going to be a good change? Right? We don't know.
Yeah, we're not going to find out either.
Down the exact same path and do the exact same thing. Isn't that the definition of insanity?
Yeah, actually, it was Einstein that was accredited of having said that. I'll take that guy's word for it.
If you expect a different outcome when you're doing the exact same thing, like that's
you're nuts. You're nuts.
You're nuts. It's not making any sense. So I'm not too sure, how it didn't. There was no change in BC because BC has again so much opportunity in our resource industry. Like BC used to be the province where it's like, not only is it beautiful, but you could actually make a life for yourself in BC. There was the filming studio, they're like everything, but now it's nothing.
I live in a town where it was founded on logging, and people moved into the town and said, I don't like the logging industry, and shut it all down. Like this is the history of British Columbia. Yuppies moving into beautiful places where industry once existed, and that's why the town exists, and shutting it down for their own personal reasons. But yeah, that's I hope there's a reversal on that. I really do. I hope for hope's sakes, because there's so much potential and there's so many people that are super eager to get to work, get out there and just do stuff. Like the logging industry. I know lots of people that are really happy to get out there and log, but they're pushed out further and further and further all the time. So they have to go on camp jobs. They can't do it in town anymore. There's no real need for it. It's a mentality issue. And once people figure out a new mentality, I think it'll take some time, but it is the renewable way of going about things. I think that this environmental aspect of things, and emphasis on mental, right? Because it is mental what they're doing. I think we need a new approach, and I like to call it the ecological approach of actually being good with the environment and all of that, but pave way for industry and do things sensibly.
So one thing is what happens is when you're doing well, say you and I or society's doing well, we're making a lot of money, then we have entered a new space where we do care about the environment. We actually care about making things better and innovation. But when you're worried about your children eating food, you're not worried about the environment at all. No. So that's where we're at. It's like we like people are hurting, like we're people, so they're like, the thing is that what they don't understand is economic prosperity. So by selling our resources, then we could turn around and create, innovate, and then we could be the innovators of the world game and do new technology that replaces stuff. Because ultimately, this is how it works: is if let's, for example, look at a electric vehicle. If electric vehicle, and like China's building them for $5 or $10 grand or something, US, for these gorgeous BYD cars. So if you could go and buy a BYD car that goes 400 or 500 kilometers distance, and they're gorgeous, and it's $5 or $10 grand, are you going to be buying a gas vehicle?
No, not if that's the option. No,
well,
if you're given a cheaper option. Yeah.
So why are they making it more expensive for everything? So you're not going to be. That's again going back to my point. Is it's if you are economically growing and better, then you're going to make you're going to, and it's, hey, this option is cheaper. Like, you're going to make the right choice because you want the planet to be saved. You want to do better for the planet, right? So you're going to make the right decisions. But if you're like, your economy is not growing and things are not doing well for your family, I mean, the last thing on your mind is, you want the storm to hit you.
Now, I have to pipe in because I am a car guy. I mean, I'm an auto mechanic by trade, and I love cars, and I love talking about the technology and stuff behind them. When it comes to EVs with like a battery only as a power supply, I'm very much like, I think that those are the type of vehicles that only people like that live in cities would ever need to own. Other people, or people who are in rural areas, or people who want to go further than just like around the city, I think what Edison Motors is doing is really an innovative thing in the industry. Now they're doing it for industrial purposes, but they're making diesel electric off highway logging trucks. What I'd like to see happen is diesel electric cars where they're electric drive, but they have a small diesel engine on them to just run a generator and keep a smaller battery set charged. And you'd have a lot less issues with battery fires and all these other, charging and, using up the electricity grid. A lot of headaches that come around with battery electric cars. You could, and this innovation is happening right here in Canada. And guess what? The British Columbia government is not helping at all with grants or any of this stuff. In fact, they were thwarting their efforts to get grants, and they just had to do it on their own, and they're happy to do it on their own. But holy cow, of all the things that they say they want to do and what they're actually doing are completely different. It's mind-boggling. It's just, we could be going in a right direction. We aren't.
Yeah, no. And you know what? I don't personally, I don't think electric is where the future is. I think that I don't know if you heard of that technology where they suck carbon out of the air and create fuel out of it, biofuel. And I think they have it up in Squamish. That's the technology, and it's equivalent to the cost of a liter of gasoline. So it's carbon out again. So it's even. It's not. There's no creation. So right now we're sucking carbon out of the ground and then emitting it into the air. This way we suck it out of the air and then we re-emit it into the air, so it's neutral.
Yeah, if you have any articles on it, I'd love to read about that.
Yeah.
I love science and tech. I'm so dorky about that stuff. I love it.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find. I saw it and I'm like, wow, like why is this not like, you know, why aren't we tripling down on this kind of technology where it just makes sense? What they've done is it's small, so they've done a small kind of. So what they'll need to make it huge, and it takes a lot of electricity. So they'll have to take the carbon out of the atmosphere. You need to use a lot of electricity, which we have tons of. We have Site C that we just created in BC. So.
Okay, so right, so it uses a lot of electricity, but it's you know, it's electricity that's being generated naturally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
see.
and then you capture the carbon, and then you create biofuel from it.
A liquid fuel, which is much better than electricity stored in lithium. I'm not a big fan of the whole lithium battery thing.
Where is all that waste going to go? They haven't actually figured that out. Like, is it going to just get thrown into the landfills? Like it's and not only that, is a lot of the cobalt is coming from Africa, and it's, you know, we know that it's not coming from, it's coming from you know, some pretty rough working conditions.
Well, slave labor. Out of the Congo. It's really, really bad. But listen, I'm gonna get to a couple of these super chats. There's a couple here. McLovin gave a $5 super chat, just not saying anything, just with a $5 super chat. Love the name.
McLovin,
yeah,
great.
love the name. Ravisades with a $5 super chat says, it's not just having the job, it's the quality of job held. The McJob used to be held by kids for their first. Now you're not so much, right? So this idea of like, you know, adults making minimum wage and working at entry level positions, like this is something that culturally needs to change. I don't know why adults would be working in these kind of positions. It's that's really sad at the end of the day. If that's how you're earning your money as an adult working at McDonald's. That's not to say like if you're a manager or something, but these are entry level positions. So minimum wage was not designed for people raising children. Ravisades also with another one for $10 says, most EVs are a scam in my opinion. In most jurisdictions, it's just changing the power source from gas to coal, and that doesn't make into entropy and grid bleed. Yeah, so this is a really good point. So like in Alberta, for example, everyone who's charging their Teslas, they're charging it, a lot of them, they're charging them on coal. It's like coal fired.
Clyde, I don't know if you remember last winter when Alberta had that cold snap. BC had it as well, but it went minus 40. And their electric, they were worried about doing electrical rolls, like outages. And no one was allowed to charge their EVs.
Yeah, and not only with that, they're not allowed to charge their EV, but when it's cold like that, you won't even get 40% out of your battery.
Well, that's the thing. Not only that, is think about this. You know, what's the byproduct of burning fossil fuel? Heat.
Oh yeah, heat. Lots of heat.
Electricity. You're not heating anything, so you actually have to use a lot of electricity to heat in order to heat your vehicle at minus whatever. Like you're using a lot of your battery just to heat that. But the byproduct of burning fossil fuel is heat. So it's way more efficient in cold climate.
Well, yeah, in a sense, yeah, you're right. You're right, because all the excess heat that comes off of like an internal combustion engine. Yeah, absolutely. Now, like an internal combustion, like an ICE engine, ICE, internal combustion engine, maximum efficiency about 40%, and that's only at like peak load versus RPM. And an electric motor is so much more efficient. The problem is the battery. The problem is the battery. The batteries are terrible and cold. The batteries are, awful when the grid's being strained. This is why I think that running a diesel generator locally in your car is the best option. It's absolutely the best option. So a lot of companies that are going towards hybrid, for example, Toyota just said forget it to Canada's new laws on zero emission cars. They said, we're not making EVs. We're done with it. We're only making hybrids. Smart move from them. They may not be able to sell in the Canadian market because of it, but they're looking at a global market and they're not really concerned. Got another one from Trudeau is a commie for $5. Says, I love the name, by the way. The new Dodge Ram hybrid EILL or Hale, maybe, be built just like Edison Motors V6 used as a generator. That's smart. I like this idea. That's how you build a hybrid. That's the way to go, in my opinion. Electric motors are super torquey. They're great. I think they're fantastic for a driveline, but when it comes to making the electricity, should be internal combustion engines. That's my opinion.
So Clyde, do you know about, so China has different battery technology. They're 15 years advanced from North America, where it charges faster and it has better range. And it's
there's also a lot of propaganda that comes out of China about their.
That's true, but I mean, I heard that their technology is advanced, and then we're building in Canada this EV plant, but it's based on what I've heard with the technology of China being 15 years advanced on their battery technology. We're building a plant that's 15 already, old tech, right?
I've seen a lot of TikTok videos of Chinese EVs catching fire, so I'm not sure. I don't know.
I've seen Teslas on fire too.
Wasn't
there one in North Vancouver? I've seen a lot of Teslas on fire.
Yeah, that's true actually as well. This is another reason why I don't like these batteries.
You see in Florida when they had the hurricane Hilton or Milton, the water, salt water and batteries explode.
Yeah, that's really bad.
I saw the video of the car that was in the garage, and the water was coming into the garage, and then next thing you know, they exploded like a fire. And when they go, the fire for battery fires are it's not like a little bit of flame. Like, do you see how it did you see the dogs that ate the smartphone too?
No, this is what I'm missing a lot.
Smartphone, and then the phone blows up.
That's awful.
Yeah, the dogs are fine, but the phone in the house was on fire.
Wow, they punctured the phone battery. Yeah, these are some serious concerns. These car fires, and when they go out, the police departments are now getting these blankets that cover the vehicle because they'll burn until it's out of fuel. That's it. There's no putting it out. There's no water. There's no powder. There's nothing you can put on them. They just burn until it's done. So they just cover them with a blanket to help avoid catching other stuff on fire. So it's crazy. But Mark, we could go talking all night long, and we could probably go on forever. But I want to call this one. I want to thank everybody who's joined us and everybody who's out there and hasn't yet already. I want everyone to go on over. I've left all the links in the description down below to all the avenues. But if you're on X, make sure you're following Mark Nixon on X. If you're on YouTube, the link is in the description. If you're on TikTok, the link is in the description. And if you're on Instagram, the link is in the description. I want you all to go over, check out Mark's content. It's great. You're putting out content every single day. It's fantastic. It's the energy is what made me go, hey, I got to have this guy on the show. You've got such a great energy, a great way of presenting the facts and the stories and bringing this information to light. I just want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Clyde, thank you very much. Pleasure. I'm a huge fan of yours actually as well. So, I mean, this is great that you give me the opportunity to come onto your show. I want to thank all of your fans and people watching tonight to spend Friday night with us. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, like and I'll just for my content every day I do a little bit. I touch on economics, real estate, mortgages, and some politics because they all go together, and I try to make it as interesting as possible. So yeah, I'd love to see you on any of my channels.
Beautiful. Stick around. I'm just going to end the show here. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a holiday on Monday. I might have an extra story on Monday. There's something that I've been working on, so possibly have that out in the morning. I know it's a holiday. You'll be catching it a little bit late on your sleep in. Enjoy that. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all this time off that you're going to get. And we'll see you back for regular schedule broadcasting Tuesday morning or Monday. Just count it for Monday. Everybody, keep on trucking.